Meet Dr. Marcus Wolf. In the 1998 movie Deep Impact, he finds out that a comet is hurtling towards Earth and about to wipe out humanity. What he attempts to do is connect to an email server, save some information on a floppy disk, then put it in an envelope and drive to whoever the powers might be are. But along the way, he crashes and he dies. And I watched this a few weeks ago, and all I could think was, imagine he had WhatsApp. But on a serious note, though, technology has a way of changing the way we do business, right? The way we work. And actually the inverse is true as well, where new business models influence the types of technology that we choose to adopt in companies. So let's talk a bit about the history of the web. The first version of web, or Web 1.0 here, was flat. You had websites, you could buy stuff. The current version that you're familiar with is the social media high engagement version, where you could interact with information and with people and social networks. The future version of the web is where data is a lot more structured, and you can use that structure for machine-to-machine communication, which means that all of the tech, the new emerging tech, becomes a lot more powerful. But to get to that point, it means you need to take a lot of data that is either structured or unstructured. And unstructured means things like text or multimedia content. And you have to find a way of putting that into some sort of pattern, some sort of recognizable, filtered version of information that you can action, right? And this is where spatial web comes in. And if you think of this movie, 17 years ago, Minority Report came out, and a lot of the cool tech that they were playing with, using gestures and hologram tablets, a lot of that's being developed right now. But the idea with spatial web is that it's the convergence of a set of technology silos that are not yet focusing on bridging those gaps. So these are the technology stacks, and I'll take you through each of these briefly to give you an idea of what the current status is for these. If we look at networks, we already live in an age where everything's connected. You know, from sports kit, looking at your heart rate, to your movement on a field, to access cards, or even a washing machine in your house. Then we go into data, the movement to cloud adoption of data for Internet of Things information, and also for your business transactional data. The costs are reducing, the storage capacities are increasing. That's only going to make it more accessible to get the right information when you need it. Then we go into the idea of context. As a consumer, we are getting more and more used to the idea that when we touch something or look at something, it should be tailored and relevant to what we want. I remember walking up to a screen in a mall and expecting it to do something when I touched it. Then you get to visualization, and this is where the alternate realities come in. So things like virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial or alternate realities. And this is allowing us to have information on demand. Then you go to the idea of engagement. And with engagement, a lot of companies are adopting what's called digital twins, or digital versions of your assets. But they still don't have all the different business lenses on it. So you might be looking at that from a maintenance perspective, but not always from a different perspective. And then the one that's most familiar, it's all the wearable tech, you know, the voice devices that we have in our homes. And the important thing is bringing this all together gets you to that future version. Then you have the other technology that's completely changing the way we do things. This is a company that does diagnosis of retinal disease and using an app. So where people would have waited across Africa for weeks to get a specialist in an area, they can diagnose or do an early diagnosis immediately. So to echo what's been mentioned tonight, getting used to the idea as an employee of working with tech is an important piece. But the other one that I want to emphasize is, imagine a world where you could wake up, go into the lounge, and you could switch it from home mode to an office in a box. Right? So you've got the ability to work with gesture, emotion, voice, touch, any type of interaction on any type of device that you would like. The impact that you have for employers, on the other hand, would be investment, but also dealing with the rapid change in technology, and more importantly would be the creation of new ways of working. And with the new ways of working comes new roles, right? So new jobs that you'd have. One of them being exactly what I've just been describing, is how to bridge all of those technology silos. In other words, there might be job advertisements for spatial web architects shortly. So in closing, what I'd like to say is, my view is that the outlook for spatial web, with the convergence of all of these technologies, is extremely positive. And all I can think is that the future of work for the employee will be more convenient, more intuitive, and a lot more powerful. Thank you.